Okay, good morning. It is just about 9 o'clock in the AM on Thursday, December 20th, 2018. Wow, tomorrow starts the solstice period already. That's crazy. And it's pretty warm here. I mean, I'm wearing a toque and everything, but I could probably get by without one. We are in the long night's moon, Misamiko Komiato, so named for obvious reasons. And I am on my way to the north side of town to pick up another skunky, Apikai, a white stripe. Same house, same trap, but I think we'll bring this one to a different drop-off location. And then I'll be taking a little hike down into the coulee, maybe go down to Restaurant Cathedral, see if anything's new there. And on the way, I have some follow-up ideas to the video that I did yesterday that I want to share. Some other things regarding our human capacities for medicine and what the ethics of dealing with wildlife situations, like rescue situations in areas where it's illegal, or in cases where you really don't know what you're doing. Because a good point was raised in one of the comments last night, and that is that there are people who intervene in wildlife situations and actually are doing damage because they're misinterpreting what's happening. So we'll talk about all of that on the hike this afternoon, but first let's go get this skunk. Yeah.
Too bad, a little bit narrower. Oh yeah, he's spraying a little bit now, I can smell him. It didn't stink at all when it.
Oh, you might be smelling me.
Oh yeah, that could be too, eh?
a lot of times I go to somebody's house and just set up a trap, and they're like, I smell that skunk right now.
No, it's just me. Well, yeah, but the ones that I seen at Peavy Mart were a little bit shorter. They weren't as tall, so then they can't lift their tail and spray it.
Yeah, I got some smaller ones too that I use.
But like if you got a big skunk, you need one that big.
Yeah.
These guys, you're just a little guy.
Yeah. Yeah, this season, you're going to get a lot of big skunks.
Yeah, there he goes. There he goes. Oh yeah, he's spraying at you. I seen his arsehole looking, pointing at you.
I don't know if any of that come over. Might have. Oh yeah, I got a couple of beads, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Oh.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's why I'm over here, Ray.
Coexist. That's it. Discuss it. Okay. Given this new Tuca test run, came home yesterday and found it waiting for me on my bookshelf with a little card that revealed it was a gift from my friend Andrea G. Lover, who has recently retired from being a university librarian. Yeah, in her card it just says, "Thanks for everything." Which I really appreciate this toque, by the way. But I am going to joke about it because I don't know about this retirement thing, Like, I don't have one planned for myself, that's for sure. And it's just not typically a thing that people do in every culture. So I'm not retiring. Andrea is, but she's kind of acting like she's never gonna see anybody again or whatever. Like, you know, thanks for everything. Like our lives together are now separate because she's retired. I do work, you know, I hang out with her husband and stuff, Tom, my friend, and do some work for him around his acreage quite often. And, you know, we go to social functions and stuff where we're gonna bump into each other. I don't know what she's thinking. Like, she only lives right across town. But I appreciate the gift. Actually, what I think it is that Andrea is a very giving person, and so any opportunity that she has to give things to people, she does. And so she's using her retirement. She had a retirement party last week we went to. She gave us everybody a really nice dinner, and you know, she's gifting her way out the door. It's what she's known for, and everybody loves her for it. This toque is cool. It has a interesting feature. If I spin it around, when it comes to nighttime, you know, I've got this option. Hey, boom! I got 3 levels of light, and it's quite bright when you're in the dark. I haven't tried it actually out in the coulee here yet, but I will. If it gets dark while I'm still on my walk today, I will. It's late afternoon, or not late afternoon, it's afternoon, but you know, our nights are so short here, we might go into the dark. But yeah, very cool toque. I feel like more comfortable generally with the light part on the back of my neck. Just the feel of it, it feels more comfortable back there than on the forehead. But it's not uncomfortable on the forehead to where at nighttime I wouldn't want it up there, right? Or if I'm doing something that I need a light for, you know. So it's a very cool present. Andrea was really thinking with this one. I love it. Gonna make good use of it, and it's probably gonna be a game changer for me. I'll probably never go back to toques without lights on them. Anyway, let's talk ethics and legalities of rescuing animals and this kind of thing. Still looking for that kingfisher. I was just at Restaurant Cathedral, and Christmas has definitely not hit there as yet, but I guess I really shouldn't expect it to, right? Because Restaurant Cathedral has been and continues to be a collection of mostly detritus and, you know, stuff that's thrown into the system after we've had our play with it. So I do expect it to take on some Christmas decor, but probably that's going to come maybe at New Year, you know, a week after Christmas or so, once all that decor starts filtering into the ecological system a little bit more, out of the households and such. I don't know. I'm still going to definitely go there pre-dawn Christmas and see if there is a Santa Claus, but I'm not holding my breath. I wanted to go back to that phrase, let nature take its course, because I don't think, even pulling away from the park after making the video that I did the other day, I don't think that I gave enough attention to that as I needed to, and made it as complex as I needed to, because it is very complex. Because you know, if you even start with to what extent do we allow nature to take its course when it comes to ourselves? Only in the respect that we are nature as well do we do so. And there the water gets really muddy, doesn't it, right? Because we're playing around with that nature culture divide that a lot of us are carrying too strongly in our minds. I mean, it's biblical. I think it's there for a reason, but I don't think that reason is so that we kind of keep ourselves emotionally divided from the rest of the living world. Which is what this current culture seems to interpret it as. But I think what it's saying is kind of what I was trying to express the other day. Like the whole Adam and Eve thing, the fall from nature and stuff, it revolves around knowledge. And I don't want to get too in depth with that, because then we'll have to talk about agriculture and all kinds of stuff. But knowledge, we have, is it really knowledge? I don't know if it's really knowledge, but we do have this kind of abilities that some of the other animals don't that all the other animals don't have, and they have abilities that we don't have, you know. That's the thing. But our ability, one of ours that's a really grand ability, is to the extent that we can actually intercede and assist. Wow, look at this. I think a beaver's been up and down this. Beavers are still nice and active. We're going into the solstice like tomorrow. Pretty wild. Like, okay, let's talk about let nature take its course. What's going on right here? That this place, like normally at this time of year I'm out here and it's 30 below zero. This is a frozen, deadly ground most years. It's not this year. And I think that's part of our doing. So are we going to let nature take its course? Are we going to intercede? I think it's ridiculous even to throw that at somebody as ammunition. Let nature take its course. Now I want to say that with a caveat though, because I'm going to come back around and say why the concept is also important. But our very nature, whatever it is that's different about us humans, whatever it is, it's kind of that we don't let nature take its course. Our ability, like I said the last time, is to be able to intercede and help others in desperate situations. That you can look at other animals and you can tell that they wish they could do that too, but they're limited. And we've got less limits in that regard. And you know, to ask anybody not to exercise that, I think, is foolish. With caveats. Now, I do want to look at that concept, let nature take its course, as something that has some value too. Because it does. Hey, it does. Why do I say that? Because, you know, look at what's happened by us not letting nature take its course with just our species. Or not just our species, we also really love little cats and dogs. But in the ways that we don't let nature take its course, that we interfere, a lot of times things go pretty bad. Like right now, wonder if these beavers, this looks fresh. I think the beavers were up here working on this, you know, just in the last night. That's pretty crazy. I keep getting distracted by nature. That's all right. It's my learning. That's part of what I want to talk about too. We got to get away from this culture of the ignorance. Let nature take its course. Yeah, I think it's foolish to throw that at anybody as ammunition to stop them from doing something that's going to benefit somebody else. However, the phrase in itself should be, or the idea behind the phrase, the knowledge behind the phrase should be kept somehow because I think it's important to recognize that when we interfere with nature taking its course, there are ramifications. And my favorite example of this, I experienced at a very personal level. When I turned 16 years old, two things happened. My parents bought me contact lenses and a car. And with those two tools, it was like night and day, the kind of social opportunities that I had, in particular socio-sexual opportunities. Basically, women wanted nothing to do with me when I had no wheels, and when I had this big indicator on my face in glasses of a genetic defect. But as soon as those glasses were shed and I had contact lenses, and as soon as I had wheels and could, you know, go places and take them places with me, it changed immediately. Like, I started getting girlfriends within the next week. It was that dramatic. It was so dramatic. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm the same guy, you know? I haven't changed at all. It's just a couple of really superficial things that have changed, you know? But boy, did they make a difference. And when I look at us as a species, I think, like myself, I was born with nearsightedness, and it's so bad now that I'm just blind. Like, if I didn't have corrective lenses in my eyes, I'd have problems. When I wear glasses, I can't even still see right. Like, they don't make glasses for me because on my periphery it'll still be bent out of shape because my eyes are so bad. I could get the LASIK surgery or something. Maybe that'll be something in my future if I ever come across some money. I'm just not gonna do it inexpensively. I'm gonna make sure that if I'm gonna have a surgery, I'm gonna get the top of the line. I'm dealing with my eyes and stuff, right? I know that there's affordable options, but I haven't. I wouldn't dare. Maybe I'm being too resistant on that one. The game has changed, you know, over the last decade or so. But point being, I was born with a genetic flaw. I'm blind, you know. And at this point, I think I'm probably more blind than my dad. And if I had had any children in my life, which I haven't, then I'm pretty sure that they would end up probably being more blind than me. And I wonder if we roll back the clock, you know, 200 years on our species and looked at what the normal visual acuity was compared to the normal today, I think that we're going to find that our medical technologies are leading us down an evolutionary road where we're going to be born blind. Either we're going to be born blind and need surgeries right off the bat, or we're going to start tinkering with the genetics so that we aren't born blind. Oh, coming to somebody. The poodle. The poodle. How goes it?
Good, you?
Pretty good. So yeah, that's what I think is probably in store for us. One of those two options, either because we're going to need some kind of correction, because the corrections that we're giving ourselves are allowing these false representations of our genetic inheritance, right? So I don't know. I think there's reason to still embrace the knowledge behind that phrase, let nature take its course, because we need to be smart in looking at the long-term ramifications of what we do with our medicines. Not that it's going to stop us from helping each other, but that's what I'm saying. We have to find a way to have our cake and eat it too, because that's the only option really, because we're not going to stop exercising that talent that we have, you know. Now, on the flip side, some will argue, and I did get a comment on my video the other day, that there are people, you know, compassionate, empathetic people who are trying to do good, who interfere in wildlife situations and only do damage. That is true. And my perspective is that that is a symptom of the culture of ignorance. And what do I mean by the culture of ignorance? I mean that, let's go back to the example with the magpies. Magpies are getting injured. How are they getting injured? I think 9 times out of 10, they're getting injured by our very recently introduced technologies. Things like automotives, windows. So they're ending up with, if they don't get killed, they're ending up with broken bones, or at least some trauma where they're going to need some hospitalization, and they're ending up with concussions from windows and these kind of things. And there are things that we can do about that to make sure that those birds aren't getting injured. And it's not the adult birds who are getting injured, it's the young ones. It's the ones who just haven't trained for our culture yet. If you look at the ones who survive the summer and make it into this time of year, the magpies, they know how to stay away from automotives. They know the difference between a window and something else, you know. But young ones fresh out of the nest won't know that stuff yet. They have to be trained in it. You know, it's just too recent to be embedded in their genetics, right? And we can't expect, you know, people will say stupid bird, if it doesn't get out of the way, it deserves to go, you know. Only the fit survive or whatever. Yeah, I think that's a gross a gross way to go about carrying on in relation to other species, given that we are changing the game for them so dramatically in the last few years, right? Or a few hundred years, just changing it so dramatically. So yeah, the culture of ignorance. In the culture of ignorance, what happens is that a person in the midsummer drives down the road, sees several birds, magpies, on the road, and to their untrained, ignorant eyes, they are all adult birds who should know better, who should get out of the way. And if they don't, then they get what's coming. If they had any knowledge of their local wildlife, they might appreciate that even though they look adult, these are fledgling birds. First times, maybe first week out of the nest, maybe first month, who cares? These are babies. And you have to give them some time to learn. And so, you know, if you're a driver in the middle of summer with a bunch of fledglings around, you should be aware there's a ton of baby birds around. If there's birds on the road, I better slow down. Because who likes to hit a bird? Nobody likes to hit a bird, you know. Pretty much, I mean, not nobody, there's sickos out there, but for most people, if you hit any animal of any significant size, you feel immediately like shocked and remorseful, and you wish you'd played it different. happen so fast. A lot of these things don't happen as fast as we think they do, though, because they're based on ignorance. There shouldn't be as many birds hit in the summer as there are. And for us to be out there just dumbly mowing down baby birds and then telling those few among ourselves who are collecting some of those baby birds and trying to fix them up, telling those guys, just let nature take its course. Fuck you, you don't know a damn thing about nature. Not a thing. That's the problem. You're in the culture of the ignorance, you know? Now I appreciate that in the perfect world, when there's an injured animal, you should have the person dealing with that animal that has the most knowledge, the most medical knowledge, the most wildlife knowledge, the most knowledge about that species. I'm in complete agreement with that. However, the perfect world, we all know that doesn't really come to play. So you should know some first aid. All of us should. All of us should. The same way that we know, like when our kids get sick, you know, how to help them out, whether or not it's serious. Like we got to be able to determine whether this is a medical issue or something else, or like a medical, like needs to go to the hospital, needs specialized treatment, or whether we can take care of it ourselves. And the same thing goes, it should anyway, I believe, with all the other species that live around us. Like, why don't we know these others? Of course we're not going to know them as good as we know ourselves, but to not even know something as basic as to recognize a baby bird from an adult, you know, or not to recognize that that baby bird, that fledgling, is perfectly fine where he is. Yeah, he's very vulnerable right now, but that's what happens with fledglings, that if you take him to me when he's, you know, physically healthy and he has parents looking after him, that's an interference that's not good, you know. Yeah, there's a lot of that happens that comes from that same culture of ignorance. And I think part of that culture of ignorance is embraced by the celebration of the expertise. You know, the idea that you have to have the expert do it. Don't do it yourself, you know. A couple of years back, my little brother in Oregon, he was hiking. It's a wicked rainy, cold rain. He was hiking, and he had passed this area, and on his way back there was a bear cub on the path, dying, hey, laying there just off the trail on his back, being drenched by the rain, obviously dying. So it's a black bear. So my brother picked up that bear, ran to his vehicle because he was worried about getting attacked by a mama, you know, and it was like a mile and a half back to his vehicle. He didn't know what to do, so right away he posted on Facebook when he got back in his vehicle, "This is the situation, I got this little bear, where do I take it, where's the wildlife place that I take it?" And he started driving. As he's driving, the little bear stopped breathing. So my brother pulled off, gave him mouth to mouth, and revived him with basic first aid, you know, mouth to mouth, and got him to wildlife rescue. But because he had posted on Facebook, you know, asking everybody that's connected to him, okay, where do I take this? Where do I take this bear? It had become a public story, and he was being threatened, you know, with potential legal charges, because your citizen is not supposed to help a bear in Oregon, you know. You leave that entirely to Fish and Wildlife, and a citizen, just a regular citizen of the state who intercedes in a situation like that, yeah, they're up for potential fines and legalities, maybe even some jail time. So it became a story. It actually became a little kind of a national story in the US. He was on a couple of TV shows and such, and news shows, and they were comparing it at times with the family that went through Yellowstone, and they saw a bison calf by itself, and they decided that it was orphaned, and they took it into their vehicle, and then the park had to put down that animal because it wouldn't be accepted back by its mother. That's different. They were ignorant of the situation. They assessed it wrong, and that's part of the culture of ignorance. That's part of not training people about their local wildlife. When they can't assess a situation with an animal, you know, as abundant as a magpie, when they can't accurately assess that situation, that means that the education is fucked up. Sorry to say, but people need to know more about the species in their areas. And my brother, even though he didn't know exactly where to take that bear, he knew what he basically had to do. He knew that that bear was dying, and he was his chance, you know, to help it. And he did. He saved the bear's life. That bear, because of the publicity actually, and because of some of that negative publicity even, that bear got a chance. Because of course, you know, wildlife officials don't want to put down an animal as endearing as what that bear was. And my brother pulled, you know, the photos out he played his photos at the right time, because he had photos of the bear laying on its back in the rain dying, that he kept wraps on until he needed to play that card to prove that he wasn't stupid in his decision that this bear was actually in need of help. So that bear actually ended up being helped, being rehabilitated, and put back into the wild. That bear's name was Elkhorn. My message, though, is that we should all have these basic skills. That this should be part of our formative education, not the stuff that we have to learn in school even, but the basic things that we're taught as people, as members of our families even. You know, we should know the plants and animals around us. We should know basically how to help each other in desperate situations. We should be groomed for that, and we should be groomed for helping the other species around us in those kind of situations, especially when it's a result of our own activities that they're getting hurt. And that's what the case is with magpies. So that's adding a little complexity to what I already expressed, and some clarifications as well, some things that I thought needed to be put out there.